Welcome to the Delingpole with me, James Delingpole. And I'm sorry, I've got some really bad news for you. I've had to move the date of the Dick and James Christmas special. I'm really sorry about this, it was completely unavoidable. But I really apologise to those of you who've already got your tickets and were fully lined up to come in November. And now I'm moving the date. I hope you can make the new one. I pray you can make the new one. It's December the 6th. It has the advantage of being a Saturday rather than a Friday, so you won't have to take the day off work if that weekend is free for you. I hope it is. If not, obviously you're going to get a full refund, and I'm really, really sorry. Those of you who haven't bought your tickets yet, well, you're in luck. This may be a much better day for you. December the 6th, the Saturday. There'll be all sorts of fun there. I mean, my Christmas party is becoming legendary. There will be, I'm giving away no secrets here, there will be a performance in Jerusalem. There might be some other some Christmas carols. There will be a festive atmosphere. I won't wear this jumper probably. It's a bit hot. The unregistered chickens are playing, of course. Dick, we're talking to me. You remember Dick, my brother? He's the one with the moustache. And yes, there will be bell ringing for the special on the special VIP tickets and other perks. And there'll be, the food is extra, but it's really nice. The caterers are really good. It's actually stuff that you'd want to eat. And cash bar, nice venue. Everyone who comes to these things says, I'm so happy I came, because it's really, as I keep saying, it's really not about me. Although obviously I'm mildly interesting. It's not even about Dick. It's about you. This is a wonderful occasion for the gathering of the clans, of the tribes, and everyone there is like the best friend you've never met, or maybe you have met them before and you love them anyway. It'll be fun. December the 6th, and I promise you I won't move the date again. Saturday, December the 6th, James and Dick's Christmas special. Details below.
I love Delingpole. Go and subscribe to the podcast, baby. I love Delingpole. And listen another time, subscribe with me. I love
Welcome
Delingpole.
to the Delingpole with me, James Delingpole. And I know I always say I'm excited about this big special guest, but before we meet him, let's have a word from one of our sponsors. Gold and silver. They've been going like rockets recently, especially gold. I think silver will follow, but I'm no expert. What do I know? I just know that I've got some gold and I've got some silver, and I'm very happy to have some. There are two ways of owning it. Either you can buy physical gold in the form of gold and silver bullion, or in the form of coins, or you can take the monetary metals option. Monetary Metals is a company, and I've had the CEO, Keith Weiner, on the podcast twice to explain how it all works. It's a way of owning physical gold and silver, but you get paid interest on your holding. Now, this is different. When you hold gold in a vault, you have to pay a fee, a management fee. But if you buy gold and silver through Monetary Metals, you get paid interest. So you don't have to pay storage charges. You're actually earning income on your gold, which is paid in the form of more gold and silver. It sounds like it doesn't make any sense, but actually it works, because the jewelry industry pays money to Monetary Metals for which enables it to pay you interest on your gold. It does work. So if you want to buy gold and silver through Monetary Metals, you go to monetary metals, monetary-metals.com/Delingpole, and you can find out more about it. monetary-metals.com/Delingpole. You can earn up to 4% in their leasing program immediately after funding your account. You can even earn higher yields if you are an accredited investor via their bond offerings. They let you earn income on their ounces, paid in more ounces of physical gold. The interest you earn is paid in ounces of physical gold or silver, which you get in addition to any price appreciation from gold and silver during the year. Join thousands of investors earning interest in physical gold and silver every month with monetary metals. Visit monetary-metals.com/Delingpole to earn more. Welcome back to the Delingpod, Market Sniper, aka Francis Hunt. We're both ill. That's not a good start, is it?
Oh, it's always a good start seeing you in the morning, James.
Oh,
I can tell you, especially if you
Compliment.
manage to look worse than me.
Where are you at the moment?
So we're in sunny Panama, where it also has quite a bit of rain. In fact, we've just had a tree behind our apartment fall down. But yeah, Panama, Cyprus, Panama, South Africa, a little bit of Georgia. This is our nomadic capitalist existence in our bid to establish arbitrage from the totalitarian Western governments, James, which is probably a kicking
Georgia,
off point.
as in Georgia, as in near Russia.
Correct. The country rather than the United States.
Just
Yeah.
I was in Moscow recently, and I went to a Georgian restaurant, and I know that Georgian cuisine is famous, but it was just amazing. I mean, I
Yeah.
was thinking, wow, is it a nice place,
Right.
Georgia?
It's great. We have quite a few Russians in Cyprus, and we even have our favorite Georgian restaurant in Limassol that we go to. And we enjoy the Georgian hachipuri, and of course all the spicy warming food that they do. So yeah, we're quite big fans of the Georgian cuisine as well. So
Thing
it's
is,
great to.
Francis, on the subject of Cyprus, I remember in the early days you were talking about Cyprus as a possible kind of flight destination. And as far as I'm concerned, Cyprus completely shit the bed during COVID. It showed its colours by its enforcement of vaccine certificates and stuff, ruled it out of contention as a kind of place to flee to.
We managed quite well there, actually, surprisingly, but it wasn't perfect. It is part of the EU, southern Cyprus. There is, of course, the incredible advantage that you have a border you can cross that doesn't keep records because they're technically at war with each other, and that takes you into Turkey, the northern Cyprus part. But I won't even say that northern Cyprus was that great. I think it was pretty well coordinated across the globe. There weren't many places that covered themselves in absolute glory apart from Sweden, potentially during that era. The only thing that we had was you had a silly texting system. When you went out, you had to text and it sent you a code for a short period, if you went out. We did have to, if we went into the supermarket, supposedly have either a vaccine or you got a test that proved you were negative. So we literally bought these 3-day, they would only last for 3 days and then you'd renew them. And eventually we were just changing the dates ourselves because it was, unnecessary. And to be honest, the thing about Cypriots generally is that after the first thing, they're pretty laid back and lazy, I would even say, which works in your favor to a degree. But it didn't cover itself in glory. But people there are not aggressive like they were. I mean, I saw the pictures of young women being manhandled by big burly cops in Australia and Canada and pushing. That just wouldn't, it's not in the Greek Orthodox, pretty non-violent, pretty, they're quite strong. Orthodox Christianity is this kind of chill, in terms of slapping women around. They don't get into that whole gig at all. And I would say you probably got half the story there. It was reasonably okay, for a crappy experience. We also spent some time in South Africa, and there was in the initial instance again a little bit of chasing people off the beach, and then they just gave up, because we have a large coastline and all of that. So all of these things initially started incredibly rigorously, and they fizzled out, I think, to a large degree because people just started not to accept it. So it does depend.
They
I
do.
can't give any nation a great bill of health apart from Sweden, I would say, who I wasn't
Yes,
in.
but Sweden is evil in its own way. I mean,
Yes, in other ways, exactly.
Sweden is controlled by the forces of darkness. Some of the most evil bloodline families. I'm not going to mention them because they'll kill me. Come
Yeah,
from. Oh, I've just. Do you know how you can tell I've got a cold?
yeah,
I haven't shaved. I
yeah.
I always try and shave for my podcast, even for my male guests. Although I'm more likely to do it for
I'm
a female
flattered,
guest.
James.
But I haven't today, and that's
I know,
why I'm.
I know I'm being sarcastic. No, but it's
I'm
totally
sorry.
fine. If I'd shaved, I'd probably remove the top layer of my head. So it's probably good.
We
Neither of
needn't
us.
worry about the hair. Doesn't matter, man. It's just
No,
like
no, it doesn't.
I know your freak flag. You don't need it.
Exactly.
So obviously the plan of the powers that be is to render the entire world um, to close down all the escape routes that we might have.
Correct.
And I mean, Panama, where you are now, I think looks quite sexy.
So,
I like South and Central America.
yes,
I like the bird life.
the toucans. I can see you enjoying the
I like the
colorful
toucans and
beak.
the toucanettes. Yep.
Yeah. And hummingbirds are very cute as well. So here's how I think the question you're asking, and to give the value to our audience, is how do we play this when essentially we've been treated like rats in a barn and they're trying to keep everyone in the barn and burn the barn down?
Yeah.
And how, as a rat, dare I say, we all are, which I don't consider us to be, but nonetheless, that's the framing I think certain
We're not
people
rats.
have, is they're clearly trying to come at us in a number of ways. They want to hollow out your wealth entirely so that you're totally reliant on state. So that is the UBI, the CBDC, and the social scoring and biometrics. They want to take your money. They want to have everything you own. They want to turn you into a rentier society where you are paying subscription model for anything you do and have. You don't even own a car. They sell you the whole Uber, Airbnb. They don't own properties. They don't own cars. It's just when you need it, how you need it, the whole scam. So there's that. That's on your wealth. They want to take it away. So our core strategy of our community is we're going to help you build more wealth. Then there's the aspect of free control, even if you remain wealthy, controls forced into this tokenization world where all your assets, they'll come with an electronic clipboard. You'll have to declare them. Have an NFT, and at some point they can buy them all up. And again, you get turned into someone who's renting your own house back from BlackRock when they can proliferate. So one of the key things that we see about this is that you're going to have what I call black or gray assets that are unregistered. They're probably going to come at you in an incredibly draconian. So I'm game theorying out how this whole thing goes down. They're probably going to come at you in a very draconian manner to say, if you don't register, for example, I have 100 grams in silver right here. That is a beautiful Scottsdale mint. You can see the thickness
Nice.
of that, 100 ounces. Now, at current prices, it's around 50. It's a little bit under at the moment. It has hit 53. That would be 500 and, what's it, times by 100? Yeah, or $5,300 of silver. Now, my suggestion is you may be forced to register that at some point, at which case you could, but you should also keep some dark, and that's going to be probably punishable, kind of like when they did confiscation in 1933 in America. It was $10,000, which was a small fortune then. It would be equivalent of millions and jail time. So you've got to prepare yourself for the vaccine. Do this or else, and you've got to say else when they come at you on that. The other thing is there's a West and East by dichotomy here. Actually, the communism is coming from the alleged capitalist nations of the West. So you have thesis, antithesis, and they intend to synthesize those two models. So you've been told America is capitalist. It isn't. It's a cacocracy of front-running insiders that are stripping the wealth created a Ponzi debt scheme that they're going to crash and treat as the wealth harvesting tool of the masses into their hands. You've been told Russia and China are red communist, and in actual fact, they are pursuing sound money. They are calling the Ponzi that is the West and saying, we want sound money. We're going to establish gold vaults across all our primary trade nations, and we'll do back trading so that you can have trust in dealing with us. Now, the great irony is the people that we've been psychologically trained to hate, Russia, China, Southeast Asia, the whole conglomerate, the Grand South, and we're the first world, and, the smart people who live great, Europe, Commonwealth, and North Americas, are actually the inversion perversion. So we are become members of the attack vector and the evil. Without even watching it, we got blacked out into this. And you have corporate Zionism, fascism, you've got Palantir, Apple, or the Mag 7 basically is status stock market that has been made super valuable, can consume up any technological innovation for very cheap with a very powerful share price. And they are doing data centers, tracking, surveillance, the whole lot. So it's basically Mossad, CIA, NSA, dark state complex is now your corporate fascist weaponized against you. We are the patsies, unfortunately, James, in this grand game, and we are to be managed and controlled. So the whole game is knowing that, what do you do? And that's what we aim to answer. I've spoken for a while, so I should maybe hand back to you and let you come back at me.
Well, I was really impressed with that. I agree with you. When I was in Russia, I met this guy. I might have him on the podcast. He's one of those kind of Latin Mass Catholics, and he moved to Russia with his 6 or 7 children because he wanted them to have the traditional values life in a country that valued the family and stuff. And whenever you say anything positive about Russia, you not only get jumped on by the normies, but you also get jumped on people like Rurik Skywalker on his Substack saying you don't understand, Russia is really shit. I mean, to be fair, he's slightly biased because I think he's got Ukrainian blood in him. But it's hard to know anything about anything in this world where everyone's lying. But what this American guy told me was, look, I mean, there are problems in Russia, but the economy is basically sound, and they cannot engage in the kind of fiscal manipulation, money printing and stuff, like as has been the norm in the West since at least 1913, or maybe before that. That they have to have a sound economy. They have to keep their money supply kosher.
And can I interject on that? So American dollar has lost about, on average, 15% this year against most other failing currencies. And in actual fact, it's fallen 42% to the ruble. Most people think, useless paper currency, the ruble, and in actual fact, they have virtually zero debt. I say virtually, nobody has zero debt, but in terms of percentage of GDP, it's exceedingly low, having tidied up their affairs in their previous crisis. So actually, the people that have cleaned house are actually all our MSM enemies. Are the bad guys, allegedly. And I mean, the more I look into America, just so that you know, the Bank of International Settlements, which is a Swiss central bank to the central banks, brought, and we've been covering this recently, so journalistic, I'll give you a super fast flyby on something that's going down. There are a lot of American cope, and I love American people, and I'm not attacking. This is not an American hate. This is about the Pharisees, the usury extractors and Pharisees that have got control in America, that are destroying it from within. And some of the people that are trying to say, look, it's all not so bad here in America. We always get an auction of our debt. It's well supported. Foreigners are still buying. There's this keep the hegemon currency and debt belief system going. And we've disclosed that in actual fact, the Cayman Islands, which is an absolute speck, It's so small. It's smaller than Cuba by, I don't know what multiple. It's even worth me bringing up my Substack to just show you it. Has just been forced, the Fed has been forced to acknowledge that the Cayman Islands, that is already a major whale in treasuries. That's the Cayman, by the way. I'm hoping that it's showing. Tell me if it's seeing.
Yeah, it is. I love the way you can do this, Francis. I didn't have that skill, but you can do it. Well
Never
done.
mind. That map right there, there's a dot in the middle of that
I
red
see it.
circle. It's very much CIA central. It's old Goldman Sachs retirees, hedge funds for tax expediency. People will say it's a bit rich if you're standing in Panama saying that. But yes, it is. But it's very much under very Pax Americana. And they've got a GDP of 7.1 billion. And the only reason I mention that is I'm going to give you a comparison. If you earn £250,000 a year, James, let's say, their holdings of treasuries that fall within that jurisdiction is 1.8 trillion. Now, to give you the maths on that, because these numbers just get a bit vague. It's like you having a £250,000 annual gross income. Don't forget you've got a wife, children, maybe cars and houses to pay. So
Yeah.
that's your gross. It's not your net. It's like you having a 68 million pound bond portfolio in US treasuries on your 250 grand gross salary, if you take the GDP to be a gross salary. So, I mean, this is a proxy, a complete Ponzi-onomics proxy. And the Bank of International Settlements has been highlighting it. And you might ask, well, how did that country get to have that much money that they could buy that much of that item? And the true answer is they don't have it. They've just put 1%, between 1% and in the maximum 5% down, and they've been lent it by the repo markets, which is the financial plumbing between banks, interbank lending, and the money markets. So in essence, America is self-sustaining a Ponzi of their own debt and dollar. They're issuing it on the one hand, the treasury to spend, and then you have Warren Buffett, for example, that's been put the better part of 340 billion in the money markets. He doesn't like the value of the shares at the moment. He thinks they're overpriced. That money market is using that capital, paying him about 4%, and they are giving hedge funds in the Cayman Islands daily repo borrowing. So the hedge funds have only put 1 to 2% down on this 1.8 trillion that they own, and they are refinancing it every day in the repo markets. This is such an unbelievable systemic risk. And the Bank of International Settlements itself has made statements saying, look, this is a very crowded trade. They're all doing the same trade. I won't get into the specifics of the trade. It'll be too financially geeky, but it's very marginal, and it yields a very marginal profit. And it's not so safe as they think it is. It relies on the futures markets coming down to meet the cash markets. If there's anybody who's technical and understands that, they go long the underlying instrument and short the future. Technically, they hedged, and the future comes down and at the date of delivery. But I mean, I don't want to get into the specifics of that. And because the return is so marginal, they apply this huge leverage. And basically, they don't have the money to get that huge leverage, and they're borrowing it from the repo markets. And it's the only place the primary dealers, which is Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan's, are facilitating this with them. And I said, what if me and James Delingpole decided gold's a great investment, and we went to the same people and said, hey, we'll put 1% down, me and James can scratch together a couple of million quid. Will you lever us up to 200 million quid so that we can buy gold? Good luck trying to get a JPM and Goldman Sachs and all of them to do this. But they are doing that for proxy in Cayman Islands to do incredibly leveraged purchasing of dollar-denominated debt, which at the moment, James, is in a parabola. They were at 37 trillion 2 months ago. We just crossed 38 trillion in 2 months. 1 new trillion every 2 months. End of the year, you'll be 39, and in actual fact, it's accelerating. It's quite possible you'll be closer spitting distance to 40 than 39. And just after we've celebrated New Year's Eve, I'm expecting in those early weeks of Jan, especially with this close down, because after they've had a close down and they're supposedly limiting the spend, you get a surge as all the back pays and everything goes. It wouldn't shock me if we're on 40 in the early part of January. So it's
And
a
a
complete
trillion is
run
quite a
thing.
lot, isn't it? How much is a trillion? Have you help me conceptualize it?
Yes, so that's such a great question. I'm so glad because it's my specialist topic. You've just taken me down. So let me just say, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for every second. And if I'm to count to 1 million, it's 12 and a half days of no sleep. Every time I go to the toilet, I'm still counting. There's someone following me with a microphone. We're recording it. I'm saying a new number every second. Otherwise, I'm failing. That's a very difficult live for 12 and a half days, as you can imagine, especially that I'd probably have to fast that time. You will take 12 and a half days. To do 1 billion with a B, that's 32 years. 32 years of no sleep, no rest, throwing out a number. Now, the technical problem of actually saying a number in a second, once they start to get very big, I'd have to say just the last 3 digits and someone would have to keep track of all of it. So let's just forget the technical practicalities of not doing that. But 32 years, 1 trillion, James, 32,000 years, 1 single trillion. 32,000 years. That means I'm committing your generation, your sons and daughters, their sons and daughters, their sons and daughters. You're probably looking at about 45 generations of Delingpole all being coerced into spitting numbers. From when they're babies, obviously practically impossible, till then their 100th year, another probable unlikelihood, to get to that point. So 45 generations, I would guess, to get to 32,000. They probably lived to about 80. And that's counting from infancy as well. I mean, the scale here is just absolutely perverse, and it's why until this pullback here on precious metals you have a parabola in gold. It might be worth showing you that, because I'm sure a lot of people are being told, hey, but gold's pulling back, because that's what the headlines are telling you. It's having about a 10% pullback after doing a ridiculous amount. So if we talk about gold and sound money, and how it looks, I'm going to just de-log scale this chart and make it just a regular scale. I'm going to hide all my silly annotations. That is a parabola, James. I hope I'm sharing screen and that you can see.
I'm looking at that. Tell me what a parabola is exactly.
So parabola is something that is gaining rate at an exponential manner. Linear increase would be something that has, say, a 45 degree. For every unit of time, 1 unit of time, you get 1 unit of gain. That would be a 45 degree line, an ascent. A parabola is something that is not linear. It is actually accelerating. So, it's very difficult. If you roll, if I rolled a snowball down on a village, down a very steep Alp mountain, and I started with a rock and a bit of snow and I rolled it, its weight that it would gain could potentially be parabolic, because in the beginning it'll only add 10, 15, 30%, and then once it gets a certain scale, it keeps growing, and you can't chase.
Let me ask you something. I think you're going to give me the answer I want to hear. Obviously, I got very excited when silver went above 50, and when gold went to what, 3,400 was it?
Yes.
I didn't sell anything because I haven't got time to be buying and selling all the time, and I don't want to get the capital gains. But I'm sort of not feeling very worried about this. I think it's going to come back, isn't it?
Correct. That's the right feeling to be having, James. This is all absolutely coming back to you in due course. Let me stop sharing the screen and I'll talk to you. So in essence, how do you know when this ends and when you should be getting out of gold and silver and getting into something else? So here, I've just spoke to you about the Cayman Ponzi. When all the frauds and the Ponzi's have been unearthed and the full devaluation of Pax Americana is taking place, and I'm afraid the hegemon falls from the far highest ladder. Europe is bad, UK is bad, Australia is going to make a whole bunch of financial errors, Canada, but the highest and hardest faller on living standards will be in the dollar. So the debasement in the dollar will be absolutely huge. I don't think the dollar goes away. It'll just be a much smaller unit of accounts. This is what's actually happening. We have no stable unit of account at the moment. Gold is it. So many people are excited about stock markets going up. I say go and divide it by a gold ounce, and you'll see that actually we're reflating downwards on most assets. British housing prices divided by a gold ounce, you are deflating at the moment. You have a new benchmark for what is money, and it is precious metals, and I will give you the gold ounce. And that devaluation in the dollar is actually the inverse of that gold chart. This is how you need to view the world. You need to measure your wealth, James. You need to have a spreadsheet in gold ounces, that which you hold of gold ounces, and your house's value in gold ounces. And you will see the assets you shouldn't be investing in and the ones you should. And there's going to be very few outside of gold ounces and silver ounces and platinum potentially, and maybe some miners in the stock market as well, for which, again, you must have the share certificates, great taking, to protect yourself from counterparty failure.
Now, I looked into this. I tried to. I've got my shares through Barclays, and when I made this point to them, they were going to charge me massive amounts of money to have my share certificate, and they came up with some line about how it wouldn't make any difference anyway, or something. I don't know. So how does
you've got to treat all the banking staff and cartel as trained to be agents of misinformation and deception. If you are not on paper that you have a registered claim and you can't produce such a writing, don't forget, if they do, China hacked us and they wiped all our data centers and databases, and now we don't know, and hey, all of this potential scammery that could be pulled. The only thing that will matter is something that is written down, officially recognized, stamped, and signed by the stationery that is legitimate and non-counterfeit paper writing. And I do think the digitization is part of, an outage of digitization, which could swamp our bank balances, swamp our shareholdings, all of these things. It's a perfect ruse, and blame it on Russia, North Korea, whatever you want, Iran, a boogeyman of choice. It's a perfect ruse for the hollowing out of our wealth and causing outrage, and of course saying, well, what can we do? All of this. So only people that will have paper will do it. And the brokerage charge that you are paying is incredibly small because nothing is happening. You're getting a derivative proxy in a share. They're just giving you magical digital money in an account, and it's saying, oh, that thing he wanted has gone up today, so magical digital money go up by that amount. You have nothing but a proxy on that. You are not even a real owner on it. And if there's a dividend payout, they go, okay, the proxy he has on. This is the big key of the power and the money issuers. They will never let you have your own money. And the big key aspect of this fundamental thing, and this is why everyone's been duped by Bitcoin, it's NSA money, basically, CIA digital token, is that it is a proxy. It's a derivative of real money, and the real money is much closer to that which I was swinging in your face here, which if you got hit on the head with, would knock a hole in your head. That is your real, true, physical money, and everything else is currency. And we're being moved from a paper currency realm, which has turned into plastic in the United Kingdom, eventually into a crypto stroke CBDC. And both of these are derivatives. And the thing that excites BlackRock, who's actually CEO, is now the World Economic Forum head after Klaus, one of our selected group of enemies, is tokenization. So they do want a digital proxy over your assets. They are selling you a digital derivative proxy that they could then seize control over, and it will have implied and inferred ownership on a physical asset. That is how you will own nothing and be high on their pharmaceutical, tabs that they give you, whatever, for depression, and turn you into a rentier. And that is the ultimate goal, which is why I say tokenization is the implementation of a control derivative proxy over your assets. And one of the first things they will go for is property. You're going to start seeing conveyancing now. Oh, we need to everybody who has a home has to have the following agreements. It's got to be put and registered on the blockchain. It's for your safety. It's in case your lawyer ever went weird or tried something. No, your title deeds will be there. It's derived. Anyone can find it. You can prove it to anybody who own the home. All of the usual narrative. But they will then drop in a whole bunch of things. Eventually, they'll even have rental agreements that can be triggered. And then these items can be searched and purchased just by derivative proxy in the end. So we've got to fight against the proxyification and the derivative money and go back to physical.
On a practical level, I'm hoping you're going to help me.
100%.
So Barclays basically stonewalled me. I got some sort of woman on the phone who sort of basically talked me out of even bothering with this stuff. I think she even mentioned that that as a result of getting these certificates, I would end up removing my shares from their ISA shelter, and that would be a consequence.
They shouldn't be able to do that, but there's no surprise to me that they tried to scare you in every possible manner. But you should just pay the amount. Try and make sure that they're not entirely ripping your face off. It's the same in America. They make it very hard.
How do you do that? Sorry. How do you try and make sure they're not ripping your face off? I mean, if they're going to...
Well, you have to find out. So there is for example, having dealt with this in American markets, you have to go and find out who the share register is for any particular listed company. And then you've got to say, I want the digital shares that I bought through my Barclays account transferred to the register, and I want physical requested. And they'll say, well, that'll cost you X, Y, Z. Yeah. You pay it because it's the only time you're truly getting ownership. You've got just a derivative position if you don't. And then they should, in time, send you the certificates. And you should say, this is a long-term holding. And they'll try to tell you, well, if you ever decide to sell them, well, you can't sell them unless you send these back. You go, yes, I know. It's all okay. You should be purchasing for the next 5 or 10 years. I personally would recommend miners. For example, a great stock in the UK would be Fresnillo, one of the biggest silver miners. You could purchase that, and you must demand certificates and eat it as a cost for getting those certificates and lock them up. They are proof of ownership. But one of the reasons why I hold more physical than I do miners is even owning share certificates. You would still have a whole, if you'll excuse the phrase, clusterfuck when they do the whole reset and theft. And you'd still be forced to prove it. And most people will be assumed not to have it. So you'll probably have to go and say, no, I have a true registered claim. So it's going to be like being owed money in an FTX. You could be waiting 3, 4, 5 years before you get acknowledged. And they'll throw bureaucracy at you. I mean, I lost money in FTX. I don't know if you remember that crypto debacle. It's now well over 3 years ago. They've had the assets for ages. I still haven't been paid out because it was above a certain amount, and I'm deemed as non-privileged or non-priority because I'm, so it's just, you just don't have access to that capital. And the dollars have debased immensely in the last 3 years compared to gold if I'd had it in my primary measurement of wealth. So, don't be overstocked in equities, but for those that you do, that could be big movers, certainly pay the difference that is required and go right the way through to the stock registry system, have them move it. You have to be a bully, and you have to be absolutely belligerent, and you've got to accept it's more expensive because they've actually pushed everybody into a digital proxy system. And that's how you're playing with magic paper money.
What timescale are you talking about the great taking?
I wish I could be specific like that, but I can tell you that the parabola in the US debt is becoming so vast that you've got as I've just described, income-wise, a Cayman Island proxy that has moved, that was already a whale, into now being top 3 holder of US debt. And the other ones are Luxembourg, Belgium, and surprisingly, the UK that has a major debt problem of its own, and France, who has a debt problem of its own. So these are all slave nations that are tying themselves to the mast of a sinking ship, which is the debt-based collapse, because the US debt market is not an asset to be invested in at the moment. It lost 55% in between 2020 and 2025. One of our core calls, technically, and you've since had last year Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, now Americans themselves and fund managers themselves announced that they will be they are shorting the debt market. So it is an open secret that it is being retained at its current values.
Why weren't they doing that earlier? I mean, I know nothing about stocks and shares and bonds, especially not bonds, but I knew that was going to tank. So why didn't these kind of names? Global warming is a massive con. There is no evidence whatsoever that man-made climate change is a problem that is going to kill us, that we need to amend our lifestyle in order to deal with it. It's a non-existent problem. But how do you explain this stuff to your normie friends? Well, I've just brought out the revised edition of my 2012 classic book, Watermelons, which captures the story of how some really nasty people decided to invent the global warming scare in order to fleece you, to take away your freedoms, to take away your land. It's a shocking story. I wrote it, as I say, in 2011 actually. The first edition came out, and it's a snapshot of a particular era, the era when the people behind the climate change scam got caught red-handed, tinkering with the data, torturing till it screamed, in a scandal that I helped christen ClimateGate. So I give you the background to the skullduggery that went on in these seats of learning where these supposed experts were informing us, we've got to act now. I rumbled their scam. I then asked the question, okay, if it is a scam, who's doing this and why? It's a good story. I've kept the original book pretty much as is, but I've written 2 new chapters, one at the beginning and one at the end, explaining how it's even worse than we thought. I think it still stands up. I think it's a good read. Obviously I'm biased, but I'd recommend it. You can buy it from jamesdelingpole.co.uk/shop. You'll probably find it. Just go to my website and look for it, jamesdelingpole.co.uk. And I hope it helps keep you informed and gives you the material you need to bring round all those people who are still persuaded that, oh, it's a disaster, we must amend our ways and appease the gods, appease Mother Gaia. No, we don't. It's a scam. Stocks and shares and bonds, especially not bonds, but I knew that was going to tank. So why didn't these kind of names?
We've been talking about the debt-based collapse since the 80s, that it was unsustainable, the trajectory people were doing that. Excuse me, the two of us I know
it's terrible. People are going to get diseases from watching this podcast.
But the key point was technically getting it right, because they were able to sustain it for far longer. And the bond market kept creeping up in value. So there was always more money prepared to invest in bonds. And they'd coerced pension funds to invest in bonds. They'd coerced a lot of people. Alan Greenspan was the biggest financial criminal in the world, kept cutting rates, which actually makes the bond market more valuable, and also goosed the stock market. So you actually are living in the times that you have the most expensive stock market. And then you had a disproportionately very highly valued at peak COVID bond market in 2020. And the bond market broke. And everybody needs to understand that fiat, FX, which we call fiat, and debt are one of the same thing. And it's the foundation of this pyramid. Stock markets and other asset classes sit on top of this. The currency debt market, and I treat them as one as the same, because a bond is basically just fiat delayed into the future. It's like, okay, we owe you at some point in the future, and here's a little rental, we'll pay you in the meantime. It's just delayed fiat. So it's all a fiat market. This is the foundation. The debt and fiat market is the foundation, and it's broken. So all the other things look good relatively. The stock markets are doing okay in Europe, very well in America, but not in gold ounces. They're going down. So the key thing is you've lost the basis of account. Your fiat, pound, sterling, US dollar, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, name them all, are not valid benchmarks anymore, and you are being lied to on inflation. So there's the bank, the BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We've been criticizing in America and saying you're actually in a recession and have been for quite some time. And they were saying, no, can't be, no recession. They met the criteria of a recession. It says, can't be a recession. We've got a red hot labor market. And the point is you need to take all status statistics as propaganda. We are at the fag end of a collapse, and it's all become propaganda. They have to lie harder and harder. And we called that out, and then they started with the revisions. There were monthly revisions in their labor. Then there were annual revisions. Then they came back and did second annual. In the end, they'd stripped more than 1 million jobs out that they claimed that they'd had in. So what you get is this ridiculous revision. We are predicting the exact same for CPI. A, the CPI is going to go up, and B, it's grossly understating. And there's a gentleman called Shadow Stats, John Williams, who does exactly this and has them at, near double digits in spite of this recession. So what you're actually is in a hyper version of stagflation. What does that mean? It's all economic speak. It means the masses, retail, are in stagnation. Wages are actually decreasing in real terms. They're dropping down. Cost of living is disproportionately climbing for them. Disposable income is going down. The value of their house is not keeping with the inflation rate. It is also either going down in nominal terms or not going up fast enough compared to the inflation. And then the state is heavily indebted and is throwing all the money at the military-industrial complex and the surveillance complex, which is the Palantirs of this world. In the UK, it would be, probably the arms industry and all the other places, although they lean a lot on the US companies, Google, etc. All of these people are getting saturated with all the capital. We've gone from a nifty 50 to a satanic 7 in terms of the stock market, the status satanic 7 of shares. And they're getting all the capital. Do you know the stock market, the S&P went up and so did the NASDAQ. 80% of the stocks were down that day. That's a breadth. It's breadth.
Weird, isn't it? There's that NVIDIA, which seems to be kind of dominating the...
It's not very far away from being a 5 trillion market cap. And it's a complete Ponzi economy. So let's talk about NVIDIA. Let's talk about Larry Ellison, Oracle. There's this crazy deal that was done between Larry Ellison, who's of Oracle, which is a database and data centering type place, and ChatGPT. And their share price jumped 25%. And the deal basically was that ChatGPT will pay Ellison and Oracle a huge sum of money. It ran into, I don't know how many billions, on data center provision. On data centers, Larry Ellison and his company have yet to build, on income that ChatGPT is yet to begin earning. So that's like me saying, James, when you become worth £100 million, I'm going to buy 20% of James Delingpole Inc. For £20 million, although at the moment I don't have that money. But I'm hoping at some point I will. By the time you've done what you have to do, I'm hoping I'll have done what I need to do to have the £20 million. That's the nature of the cacocracy we're getting into, in a simplified sense. There is an incredible circle jerk. I'm seeing Enrons everywhere I look. When the tide goes out, there is going to be such levels of fraud in terms of some of what's going down. If you look at Donald Trump's conduct recently, he was chatting with Charles Schwab and said, yeah, he made $1 billion. Just after he's saying in front of media and sitting with Charles Schwab, who's part of the brokers, Charles Schwab. He made $1 billion on an announcement that Trump had just made earlier that these guys were front running. The Trump family collapsed, were all short, position short on a recent collapse in the crypto market that had the highest liquidations ever, more than FTX, more than everything, 19 billion, like almost 15 times the amount of money that was lost in liquidations. And they were positioned short. So
How
all the
did they trigger
politicians,
what,
a
how
trade
did they know
tariff
that-
comment, a trade tariff comment that caused nerves, and then they just hit the sell on such volume that it causes a panic. And then everybody goes, oh, this news must be far more impactful than I realize. And
Right.
they sell, or a whole bunch of stop losses or liquidations are self-cascading. In other words, once you trigger certain levels, certain people that were over leveraged, don't forget, they have all the exchange CEOs on speed dial, and they can get the information of how leveraged are people, how far do we have to push this market down before it starts to self-feed, because then the stop starts selling as well, and they're closing out people's accounts with huge losses. There was somebody on there with 68 million account who lost right down to a few thousand in that. I looked at the biggest losers, and there were some massive accounts in there who clearly weren't insiders. They got absolutely rinsed. So it's unbelievable what's going on. And this
and the Trump
literally is a
family
transfer.
making money, just like
No, it's an absolute self-enrichment Ponzi. There is no moral fiber in politics anywhere, and you should see them as active conspirators against your wealth, your freedom, and the quality of your remaining years of life and that of your family. In short, they are the enemy.
You sort of hinted. I can't believe this is going to happen. That Larry Ellison is going to have his comeuppance. Now, surely the whole market is so corrupt that Larry Ellison only got to be the gazillionaire Larry Ellison because he was favoured by the Illuminati hierarchy. So it was never on his business acumen. So why do you think he's going to come unstuck? Why would
I think there will be realizations for his stock. So we had a head and shoulders call on Pfizer. Don't forget, Pfizer is very much similar category to the Zionist. Ellison is sending a huge, god-awful amount of funds to Israel
and
for
Tony Blair as well,
cleansing and everything that they're doing. Yes. So anyway, Pfizer is an equally satanic corporation for me by measure, and they crashed badly. We saw their head and shoulder and all of that, and their values. There are behind the scenes probably a lot of lawsuits that are landing that you don't get to hear about because they're not trying to mainstream media broadcast that, and a lot of liability by some pretty powerful people that didn't get whispered in the ear about this. It's been devastating for trust for them. It's for me, I think that's, you hit them where it hurts. Let me just prove that point. They do get punished, when they do get found out. This is PFE, which is Pfizer. There are a lot of people that front run this period. You can see we're on a quarterly period. You can see how much it surged. Well, we actually, as I said, called a head and shoulder on this stock over here.
I can't see it yet.
Oh, I must share the screen. Allow me to do that. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself there. So this is the Pfizer stock. They do get hurt, and we can hurt them. And I on my YouTube channel, we were short the stock, and we made an absolute bundle out of it, and was the happiest short I've ever put on. This was Pfizer. So you can see how it was from the lows of 2009, how it was bought up for this vaccine narrative here.
Yeah.
Bought up, a little bit of a correction, then a real blow off just before. Here's 2020. The whole stock market went down, but then it started to become all about viruses, vaccines. And then they went right up to around $63, $64 up top there. So if I just bring the chart around, we had a technical setup, and we broadcast this on our YouTube channel and said, join us in shorting Pfizer stock. We expected this would come down for a right shoulder. It did. It broke down, and I bought puts, and our community profited immensely out of this, and it was the happiest money I've ever made.
What did it drop to?
Languishing at about $24, having been about $61 at the high. So they did get hurt. People don't trust this company anymore. Anybody who tells you that they've done very well, all your work, James, exposing the scam and others. I have still got 2 medical misinformation strikes on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, me too.
When they'll remove, because everything that has come out has finally admitted that they rushed a deeply toxic product that is deeply damaging to people's health. You just have to go and look at it. But we predicted before even they were talking about vaccines that it would be about a vaccine. And we said, when they come, whoever brings it, don't take it. And there it was. So, I mean, it's an old story now, but it hasn't gone away in the minds and hearts of people that lost family members or are deeply physically damaged by it. And, you know, you and I did our damnedest to try expose this because we were talking a lot during that period.
Francis, I'm conscious that we've only got like quarter of an hour left. So I want to ask you some stupid questions.
Yes, go ahead.
The man, do you know that? I know this is a bit old hat now. The man who died on his yacht.
Maxwell.
No, the one who was killed more recently. They generated a kind of a weather event over his yacht and sank him.
A very localized, violent weather event.
Yeah. Why did they kill him?
I'm trying to remember the whole story. You've caught me with my pants down. I remember it at the time, and I even remember his name.
Bayesian was the name of his yacht. Bayesian. He was called Lynch,
and he was exceedingly wealthy, and he'd benefited out of some of this whole story. I can't. I won't. I'll be guessing, James.
No, okay. But it is amazing, isn't it, that these people are so evil that they have the power to sink a yacht from their skies with their magical weather generation machines.
Yeah, I would imagine they would have warmed the water disproportionately and created some sort of humidity stroke typhoon hurricane. But yeah, I can only guess.
It puts me off being a kind of billionaire because, you know, you're going to be targeted, aren't you, if you mess with the wrong people?
I would like to be independently on, here's the goal. And here's how going back to what's the plan? I mean, we can talk narratives and it's fun to listen to, but what do people do? For there to be some value add and useful, what do people do? Our community is doing the following. By severing ties with your slave master, that is your dark state government tax extractor. Most people in the UK are bank in the UK, business in the UK, or job in the UK, passport is UK, everything UK. You are completely captured for maximal extraction. And they are going to bring in capital gains taxes. It's not impossible that unrealized capital gain taxes will come. All sorts of things. They're going to be doing so much fiat debasement that gold's going to go so high. They're going to validate taxing you for owning gold ounces or silver ounces. Meanwhile, the basis of measure, the basis of account, as I've said, is in a convexity. I call it Ernest Hemingway's bankruptcy curve. Slowly at first and then suddenly very fast. We're getting to the suddenly very fast part of the convexity curve. And the best thing you can do if you're in that situation is to get more mobile. Start taking holidays outside, visit the countries we're talking, not inside the West. Don't go to Florida, don't go to Canada, don't go for an Australian holiday. This is where you start doing the things we've put in place. Georgian bank account. Do you know I have 0 capital percent gain on most items as a Georgian resident? That is very, very useful. The people that have power. It's a much smaller nation, much less strong slave market.
You're a Georgian resident.
I am a Georgian resident. That's correct. I have the right to go and stay and reside in Georgia. They don't require me to do that in actual fact, but I'm a Georgian resident. So if, when you're being taxed a ridiculous amount on your gold, so much so that you're being forced to sell it to pay half of it to pay the tax bill on it, I'll be keeping my gains. I'd rather that you are keeping your gains. You want to have the ability to maybe live. Now, I know people have children. We have a gentleman from the UK that is in Panama. His kids are English speakers, of course. They are in a French international school and they're in a Spanish speaking school and they're absolutely coping. They're coping talking Spanish. They're coping talking French. They've adjusted and it's incredible. I won't say it was easy, but he now has the right between 3 countries. He can go to South Africa. He has a South African passport. He has a UK passport, and he has right to reside in Panama. Suddenly you have optionality. You need to be fluid, nimble, and not totally captured by your state.
Can you suddenly decide? I mean, say that whoever's in charge of Chancellor, I don't keep up with these awful people. If they decide to kind of rape us at the next budget, you can't suddenly declare, right, well, I'm off to my Georgian residency now because can you?
So the UK is a particularly harsh place. Most nations are 183 days. But United Kingdom, if you retained your house, and I've been to your house, I sat next to you where you're sitting there, I even know where it is. If you retained that property, you had other ties, you can only stay 89 days inside 90. You need to look at the tax advice on that, because there are a lot of wealthy Brits that have gone offshore, but kept their Knightsbridge homes or whatever the case may be, and lots of ties and a hedge fund or whatever the case may be. So they say if there's enough ties that you still have, you can't even be there 89 days. Now, if I were you, I would be 89 days in summer in the United Kingdom, and then I would be spending 3 or 4 months, you and your wife. I think the kids are out the house in terms of your case, in potentially Cyprus like us. Cape Town's beautiful for a few months, and maybe Panama or Georgia, and getting residency in these places and having a more mobile existence for what is going to be a chronic collapse. What you need to be is nimble, mobile, and a new slave master, and a more gentle, smaller one that is less of a bully. And Georgia fits that category, because people don't rush to go to Georgia. It's not a rich country. It's not Monte Carlo. It's not, it doesn't have the best weather compared to, well, I quite like its weather, I have to say, but it's not, if you want sun, it's not Cyprus or Malta. If you want snow, it's not quite Switzerland or Alps. So they have to make it attractive to get the mobile money. And the best thing is to position yourself as more nimble. And that means you declare, okay, I'm no longer permanently living here in the United Kingdom.
I agree with you, as I did last time. Although, of course, I think the factor you're missing is blokes are happy with this kind of thing. Women are much more nesty, much more that they don't like being. They want a home,
Yeah. And the framing is, this is a grand adventure for which you come out of an obstacle course far better than people that choose to put a concrete block on their back and run the obstacle course. They don't make it, and they sink in the mud and they drown. By being light and nimble, you're far, far better. There are some complexities, but when I look now, I mean, this is my apartment here that you're seeing, and I have safe, I have bank accounts, I have a beautiful management company that looks after it when I'm not here. I have an underground parking for 2 cars. We walk into Casco Viejo, which is a beautiful, older Spanish, now being very refurbed, lovely hotels. It's the best part of Panama. I've got friends and community members that are in the hills that have got the large land and the beautiful views and a bit more mist in the mountain, and it's slightly cooler. We have community here. I'm here for 3-4 months of the year, and then off I go somewhere else.
No, I think that this is cool. On that point, though, I'm one of the things that the cabal, the predator class, are going to do is wage war on air travel. We're seeing this already. I've got this theory that one of the ways they're going to do this is by using fake drone attacks. They're going to say, "Oh, it's the Russians. We can't." They're going to make it every which way. They're going to make traveling from your luxury apartment in Panama to Georgia to wherever almost impossible. So you're going to be stuck wherever you eventually.
I think the way they typically do it is they are tax extractors. So there will be carbon credits, and I will have a high carbon footprint because I travel more, and you'll have to pay for it. And they'll make travel disproportionately expensive for most people. So you will have a certain allocated annual carbon credits. You can either sell them on because you don't have much money and you can't travel to someone like maybe me, or the jet set of the Davos set, and I will purchase them to allow myself to travel. So what they'll be doing is just adding a lot more cost, but it will actually be a government tax that will go on account of green agenda. Do they really want to? They might. Look, we'll learn to hate drones. Of that, we've already seen the footage from the Ukraine-Russian war. The ability for them to do unaccountable, no-proof assassinations of people that are criticizing. I refuse to live in fear, so I continue to criticize, Israel, Mossad, the Zionist movement, Trump, whomever, and that's our business. But they will make it costly. If you're a big enough thorn in the side, I think drone assassinations and drone surveillance. Eventually, us owning drones are going to be they already have to, if you want a drone pilot, you have to be heavily licensed. You can't use it in certain areas. You can't surveil military complexes, all sorts of things. They're going to make it harder for you to own drones while they use them more for managing people. And I do find it deeply intrusive and deeply unpopular.
They're horrible.
You know, to have a thing hovering over you and monitoring you. It's a third eye in the sky. And I don't think they care about popularity. If it's a grid down or a COVID situation, they were all about enforcement and control. They're going to come out with them on a big scale.
Can I just pick you up on another thing? Well, we've still got time. Crypto. You think it's a NSA surveillance type thing? It's always been controlled by the CIA. Is it going to just go?
Bitcoin specifically was the on-ramp phase of normalizing and getting everyone to understand and showing, hey, how cool! I received money much faster than the bank. All of this. It started out as a liberty movement. There's quite specific, I make differences inside. We expect XRP, which is Ripple, who always never pretended to be your friend. They were always working with the banks from the get-go, very fast, very quick, and also light and easy to send, but very trackable. I expect their values to go up. I expect XLM, which is very similar, to go up. I expect HBAR, a number of crypto tokens that are all statist. You're going to have the Satanic 7, Mag 7 stock market. You're going to have the same in tokens. In crypto. Bitcoin is the early generation one. It is neither fast by crypto standards or low cost. So in terms of utility, it's actually very low utility. It's the first iteration. They will tell you, oh, but we're layering 2 on top of it, where there's all these Microsoft developers have created this layer 2 where all your secrecy gets further lost. It's a blockchain. You can search it. It's online banking in the cloud for everyone to see. Once I know your wallets, James, I can see what you're buying and selling and which wallets you're sending how much to. So it's track and surveillance money. And cash, you should keep fighting to keep cash. It's the most anonymous money and private money you have. They are going to work towards eliminating it. Support companies that still take cash at the expense of ones that insist that we don't do that anymore, card only. And recognize that crypto is part of the tokenization agenda. I will buy because they'll go up. As a pragmatist, I call it the hold your nose trade, because part of what I'm looking to do is to build wealth. But I will not go out to support actively these things because they are part of the surveillance grid. Apple, there will be some people that will say, oh, that's very amoral of you. We should all not touch a single thing. I never bought Apple shares a decade and a half ago. It didn't stop it from becoming a 3 trillion, going on 4 trillion market cap company. I didn't buy Nvidia shares. It didn't stop it from happening. There's certain things that are going to happen whether I am an owner and a beneficiary or not. I fear. And I think certain tokens are going to do that. And I've mentioned some of the names. We deal with that in our community. And there's certain huge flyers that are going to do phenomenally well, but they're in the big caps. They're not going, we don't choose from, the penny stocks and the mini scams in there as well. The sad fact is liquidity chases liquidity. And the reason you're getting the super satanic 7 now instead of the nifty 50 is the capital just saturates in the one place now. It's all the AI trade, the tech AI trade, so it's Palantir, Nvidia, etc., etc. It's all the meme. You're trading a meme. AI, everything. It's going to go through its boom and then its bust cycle because it's not being monetized yet. And then it will come back because unfortunately it is a thing. And AI and robotics is the reason why they will likely also shed a whole bunch of population, such as the Deagle stats illustrated, which is a bit of a dark dive, but another reason why I say don't be trapped in your Western nation. It could be a point of survival. I'm not talking about your balance sheet and your money. I'm talking about living. They could, suddenly start ridiculous wars and actually have you be attacked, which could lead to massive, massive losses of life. I don't want to be in the West when this is going down.
When are you seeing gold and silver coming back?
I don't think for too long, the pullback. I think the way you should approach this, unless you have real training, which is what we do with HVF method in our community for leverage trading, I don't think you should be doing that. I think you should be utilizing every dip like this as a huge load up opportunity to buy yourself a few bricks like that. This is real money, and it's in real short supply. And just on the gold top story, there'll be a lot of people in news calling it a bubble in the top. The real bubble is debt and fiat, that trillions we were talking about, and that has to devalue. Something that is wildly proliferated on an immense scale devalues. Scarcity is one of the functions of great value, and there is no scarcity of bond, debt, fiat. It's been proliferated to an immense degree. You need to reduce your exposure to it. And until you've had all these collapses that we've been talking about, until the gold-silver ratio has fallen out of the 70-80 range and has fallen below the 30 and has even potentially spiked, I will sell my silver when the gold-silver ratio dips below 10. That means 10 ounces of silver, the smaller bars here, this is a 10 ouncer, that gets you 1 ounce of gold. When that happens, I sell my silver, and I'll even sell some of my precious metals over. And then I'll be buying agricultural land and property and look at whatever's happening in the market in the world in there. So we are so early in this gold run. Despite that parabola I showed you, there will be 10% pullbacks the whole way, and you just load up all the way. As you're making it, save your wealth. I have a spreadsheet. Gold ounces, silver ounces, that is your wealth. You should have it. That is it. Everything else is being re-rated downwards in gold ounce terms, including property.
Great. Francis, thank you. I thought you put, as usual, 2 hours work of stuff into an hour's podcast. Tell me where we can find you, where we can get your tips and stuff.
As always, thanks for having us on, James. Let's not wait so long before we show up. We do it again. The YouTube channel is our primary landing. Lots of links in the notes there for you. Watch, decide whether you like what we're saying and doing. Our community is to build wealth, protect existing wealth, and also secure freedoms through optionality across the world as we are getting totalitarianism coming over the West. Also on X under the Market Sniper, the YouTube channel is The Market Sniper. So just one S for Market Sniper, and it is the. And the website is The Market Sniper. You can book a call, have a chat, and find out more about our services, or just watch the YouTube channel. We even have a free mini series just to get a couple of vids a day coming to you. That'll one a day for a week. That will give you a little bit of an overview of what the HVF method is, which is how we are turbocharging our stacking of silver and gold and real wealth and other things we're doing in terms of wealth building. So yeah, thank you. Remember, it might sound very black pill. I want to leave on an optimistic note. It's a polarizing event. There will be those that took action and those that didn't. The 95%, unfortunately, are too passive about this. You can be the 5%, and it will be an incredible adventure you're going on. You're born for these times. This is unique times. You were born and chosen to be around during this period, and you get to play it. This is all just a game. Life will pass and it'll end. Take a gamer's view to all of this. Play the game well and enjoy it. Get your family to relax, get them to enjoy it, go on an adventure together, start growing your footprint inside the world and spreading your assets more broadly. And we can help you with that. Till next time, thank you very much for having me on, James.
Thank you, Francis. That was great. That was a great pitch. You're good at this stuff. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. Don't forget, I depend on your support, so please consider becoming a paid subscriber. You know where to find me on Substack and Buy Me a Coffee, etc., etc. Thanks again, Francis.
Absolute pleasure. Bye for now, guys.
That was